Master, Dr. Cliff Saldanha. We are so very honored to have him amidst us today. And I would like to start today's session with a small prayer for his mom, who left her body yesterday. So let's offer a 1 or 2 minutes silent prayer and pray for her soul's journey, and may it reach a joyous fulfillment. Yeah? Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And so this talk is being organized on behalf of Dakshina Chitra, a couple of interns there. We have organized an exhibition on the concept of death. So we have organized series of activities and talks in regard to that exhibition. So one of that is this talk on the topic called Life After Death, the word coined by Master himself. And it's indeed an honor for me to introduce him now. So, sorry for that. So Dr. Cliff Saldanha, we all know him as an energy healer. Most of us will know him as an energy healer and a very scientific teacher also. And his work in the area of healing is quite unprecedented. And he is trained Yoga Prana Vidya. He's also a businessman and holds a doctorate in energy sciences from the Open International University for Complementary Medicine. He has also studied rubber technology at Glasgow Caledonian University. And the master is someone who's got a great acumen for business, for science, and for spirituality. And he has really capitalized the skills in all these areas in a way that it is serving the society. And he, along with his wife, Mrs. Sushma Saldanha, co-founded Healing Consultancy Private Limited in 1993. And they have treated clients from all over the world. He has been instrumental in spreading the profound esoteric teachings of his teacher, Mahatma Chua Kok Sui, who, based on 25 years of research, authored The Science and Art of Yoga Prana Vidya and introduced specific techniques of energy and their application. Endeavoring to help alleviate the physical, emotional, and psychological sufferings of mankind, the organization has trained over 20,000 students on the concepts of Yoga Prana Vidya and the spiritual sciences behind it. Being a fine speaker and also on esoteric subjects and having a scientific bent of mind, he's known for testing a theory before accepting it, and also for weaving humor into intense subjects to make it palatable for the unaccustomed mind. I'm really happy to have Dr. Cliff Saldanha here. So after his talk, we will have a short Q&A session. Because the crowd is pretty large here, you can type in your questions in the chat box. And depending on the time and relevance of the question, we can voice it. I can voice it to Master and he can respond to them. So Master, Cliff, it's over to you now.
Okay. Namaste, everybody. Thank you very much, Lakshmi. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm flattered by what she has said about me. I don't know if I can live up to that, but this is one of the problems. Your students praise you so high that it makes it difficult for you to live up to those standards. Let me try doing that. Okay, let's start. This is a very interesting subject that we're going to talk about this evening, and it is life after death. One of the greatest fears human beings have is the fear of death. Everyone is so afraid of dying. And the reason why everybody is afraid of dying is because they think that death is an end of everything. That everything finishes and ends with death. The esoteric truth is far from that. For us to understand death, and for us to appreciate death, and for us to appreciate the concept that death is not the end of everything, it would be important for us to understand life itself. How much of life do we actually know? Of course, most of us don't know anything about death. But the funny thing is, like we wrongly believe that we know something about life. Let's see how much of life do we actually know. When we say we are alive, what do we mean? We mean that the faculty of life exists in the human being. Has to ask the primary question. If you want to understand higher sciences, if you're happy with eating, drinking, sleeping, pleasures, then of course you don't have to even bother about wasting your time this evening with us to talk of something much higher than that. If you love eating, if you love drinking, if you love pleasures, if you love bodily pleasures, if you love gratification of your desires, then you don't have to think about anything higher. That is available to everybody. The point is, if you want to understand something beyond that, that's where the whole problem starts. That's where the whole search begins. That's where we need to understand, we need to study. Let's see. The human being has to ask the primary question: am I a soul that has a body, or am I a body that has a soul? Take a moment, ask this question of yourself. Am I a body that has a soul, or am I a soul that has a body? If your answer is that I am a body that has the soul, then the whole gratification is of the body. Your whole emphasis of life is towards gratifying the needs of your body. Such a person would lead its entire life in the pursuit of money, of fame, of acknowledgement from society, of having a better car, having a better house, having more money than he can deal with, gratifying bodily pleasures, eating gourmet dinners, what all? Wearing expensive jewelry, wearing expensive clothes. And then at the end of the day, you know what happens to such people? They keep running behind all these dadiwalas, all the people with long beards, long hair, uncombed hair, wearing malas in their neck, wearing fanciful clothes. Why? Running up to Tirupati, running up to this temple and that temple, and this yatra and that yatra. What for? They're running there in search of happiness, in search of solace, in search of peace of mind. But they believe that they are the body that has a soul. Why do they need peace of mind? Mind is not part of your body. Mind is not something that you ever thought of. If you are a body that has a soul, then these are the avenues that are open to you. Beyond this, there is no avenue open to you. Now, if you take a step further and go to that place where you are a soul that has a body, then everything changes. What changes? You begin to realize that I am the soul. And when I am the soul, I am happiness personified. I am the soul. I am contentment personified. I am the soul. I am fulfillment personified. I have a body. I have a body because I need a vehicle to do some things. What are the things you need to do? You need to derive pleasure from the food. You are already gratified, but you need to fill in the blanks. Therefore, you need a body to eat the food. You don't eat gratification. You eat food that gives you, that awakens the gratification that is already in you. It is not that this is a misnomer people have, that spiritual people are devoid of earthly pleasures. If you just look around, I think the spiritual people enjoy more pleasures than the non-spiritual people do. Right? Yes or no? Sometimes they overdo it and then they land in Tihar ashram. It's no longer Tihar jail now. Now it has become Tihar ashram. You have all the dhaniwalas all in the ashram. You need to be careful. Everything has a limit, right? So it is not that you don't have gratification. It is not that you don't have satisfaction. It is not that you don't have fulfillment of desires. But you are working from a different orientation. When you are a body that has a soul, everything you do is towards achieving a gratification. When you are a soul that has a body, everything, every gratification, every fulfillment, you are already having it with you. You are a personification of it. All you need to do is just do what is necessary for it to be awakened within you. Is that clear? When that is the case, when you agree that it's better for us to live our lives as a soul having a body than as a body having a soul, then the question comes, what body? Spirituality teaches us that it's not one body that we have. We have several bodies. We have several bodies. The most prominent and the most known body is our physical body. In addition to the physical body, we have what is called the energy body, the body that gives power to the physical body to function in a proper manner. We have an emotional body or the astral body. The astral body is the body in which sensation happens, in which feelings, desires, passions. This is an important body. It brings satisfaction to every action that we do in life. Without an astral body, life would be, how would you say? It's like eating food that has no taste, right? You have to eat food that is nutritious. At the same time, it must be tasty. You have to lead a life that is good, that is fulfilling, that works in accordance with the God's divine plan. But at the same time, it must also have good sensations. It must give you good feelings. It must fulfill certain desires. It must answer your passions. That's the astral body. And then we have the mental body, through which thoughts and analysis happen. So you know that the soul, unlike commonly understood, has got more than one body, each body for a particular function. Why would it need it?
Hi.
Why would somebody need so many bodies? The soul needs these bodies because it needs to go through each of these experiences in a very special manner. Each of these bodies are also referred to as the vehicles. They are referred to as the vehicles of the soul. The soul has a number of vehicles. We will limit our talk this evening to the physical vehicle, the etheric vehicle, the astral vehicle, and the mental vehicle. So let us take a moment and understand what are the different functions of these vehicles. When the soul has to do any job, the first thing it does is to think about it. Two, it has to analyze how it can go about doing it, whether it is right, whether it is wrong, whether it is moral, whether it is immoral, whether it suits the divine plan, whether it does not suit the divine plan, whether it is what the soul wants to achieve or whether it is just a distraction. This has to go through the mental process, the thoughts and analysis process. For this, it uses the vehicle of the mental body. Thoughts give rise to emotions. Thoughts give rise to emotions. Emotions cannot happen without thoughts. Thoughts give rise to emotions. Emotions are very important. What are these emotions? They happen in our astral body. The body for sensation, the body for desires, the body for passions, the body for feelings. So the soul thinks about what is supposed to be done. It gives rise to an emotion, so it transfers the energy, the consciousness from the mental body to the astral body. From the astral body, now it has to work. You have to put it into action. Just thinking and feeling will not bring gratification. Therefore, it has to send it into the physical body. The physical body is the body of action, but it cannot act unless it is empowered. It cannot act unless it is given the required amount of energy in the appropriate manner. And therefore, from the astral body, it transits through the etheric body. The etheric body is the pranamaya kosha, or the kosha, or the body that has the energy in it, the energy body. This energy body, in turn, will send the energy through the energy chakras to the different parts of the body. And each chakra controls certain parts, certain organs, certain systems of the body. Mainly, it sends it to the brain. And the brain, through its network of mechanisms, will send it to the different parts of the body, giving different instructions through the nervous system, through the musculoskeletal system, through the blood circulation system, through the hormones, to the different parts of the body. And thus the body begins to work. Now it is a stimuli response pattern. This is when the soul decides to do something, how it makes the body do. When the body receives a particular stimuli, when the body receives a particular stimuli, for example, let's take a simple stimuli. You are walking by a bakery and you smell this, you get this aroma of baked bread, of cake. How many of you can relate to this? Yeah, all of you can relate to this. If you pass a bakery and the aroma of cake comes, what happens to you? You immediately become hungry. You immediately begin to feel, I must go in and eat the cake. If I don't eat it, at least I must buy and take it home and have it for dessert. Well, how does this happen? The stimulus is through your olfactory system. You know, you have the 5 senses in the body, right? The Pancha Indriya. So these pick the stimulus, this pick the stimulus. They send the stimulus to the brain. The brain sends the stimulus through the energy body to the astral body. The astral body generates feelings, it generates emotions, it generates a desire. It sends this desire to the mental body. Then the mental body will do its analysis. Is this good for me? Is this not good for me? Should I take it now? Should I take it later? Huh? Should I be indulging in this or not indulging in this? You know, all this the mental body will do. After it does that, it sends the impact back. Yes, 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 this is beautiful, this is wonderful. Come on, go ahead and do it. then the desire becomes so much more, it becomes a passion. Then this passion is transferred through the energy body to the physical body. And then the physical body is just a victim of circumstances. It can do nothing but to go and fulfill its desire, right? You notice this? Very often we say, oh, I would have loved not to do this, but I could not help myself. No? Women and jewelry, okay? Men and cars, right? You just cannot help it. If you have enough money in your pocket, the shopkeeper is going to make a real big killing out of it. This is natural. This is how it works. This is what we must learn. It's not just your physical body. There are 4 physical bodies. There are 4 bodies in operation. The soul, of course, there are more bodies in operation. I would like to repeat this again. But at the moment, we will be discussing about the soul and its 4 bodies. Okay? For today's discussion, that should be enough. Now, the astral body is one of the most important bodies. And as its name suggests, it's astral in nature. And what do you mean by astral in nature? It's bright, it is luminous, it is shining. Huh? Astral. It looks like the stars. It's a wonderful body. It's a body in which your emotions happen, in which your feelings happen, in which your desires happen. Is that not what brings joy to our life? Is that not what brings satisfaction and gratification in our lives? Yes, one of the most beautiful bodies. The astral body is exactly the shape and contour of your physical body. The astral body is exactly the shape and contour of your physical body, only it is from a subtle matter. It's from a much subtle matter than what your physical body is made up of. And therefore, for most people, it is invisible. The astral body, for most people, is invisible. Any questions up to here? If somebody wants to ask a question up to here, you can unmute yourselves and ask a question.
Cliff, Radhi here.
Yes.
Is astral body and emotional body one and the same?
Yes. It's the same thing.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
Yes, doctor, one thing.
Yes.
You said astral body is made up of subtle material.
Yes.
And what is that subtle material?
Oh, well, I think this is not the time for us to discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
maybe in another session, we will discuss what is this subtle material.
Okay, thanks.
But it is much subtler than the physical body. It's not gross. It still has solid, liquid, gas.
Okay, thanks.
But at a much subtle level. Anybody else?
Good evening, Uncle. This is
Yes.
Rachana here.
Yes.
So, Uncle, like you said, the astral body is a duplicate of our physical form.
Yes.
So, when our physical form disintegrates,
Okay.
and supposing we do take on a new physical form,
Okay.
then what happens to the astral body? Does that disintegrate and take on a new form again too?
Okay. So we will not come to that yet. We will be discussing
Okay.
that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right. So what we do, let's go ahead now. Every night, now we're coming down to the subject of death. Okay. This is the preliminary that you need to understand. Okay. Every night as we sleep, our soul leaves the physical body. It leaves the physical body and enters into the astral body. The astral body lives in an astral dimension. Like the physical body lives in a physical dimension, the astral body lives in an astral dimension. The astral world is nowhere away from our normal world, except that it is invisible to us. There is an astral world, there is a physical world. The astral world, like the astral body, is made up of subtle material, is made up of a subtle reality. The difference between the physical world and the astral world is that there are no limitations like in the physical world. There is no weight, there is no size, distance doesn't matter, time doesn't exist. It is driven by thought. That is, you in the astral world, as they call it astral travel. Astral travel is one of the most beautiful experiences every spiritual aspirant goes through. It's like this: when your soul is in the astral body, all it needs to do is think where it wants to go, and next moment it is there. Can you imagine this? You want to be on Venus. All you do is think, I want to go to Venus. And you're at Venus. I don't know what it is like being in Venus, but I hope it's a good place. I wouldn't want to go to Mars. It will be too hot for me. I'm already in Chennai. We have 3 weathers here: hot, hotter, and hottest. And I'm no good with the heat. But that's what the astral body is all about. That's what the astral world is all about. The difference between the astral world and the physical world is no time. Time is no barrier. Distance is no barrier. Astral movement is governed by a mental process. The stimulus is the mind. So we saw that the mind dictates or sends the consciousness to the astral body. The mental body sends the consciousness to the astral body. The astral body sends it to the physical body for action. So instead of going through one more process, it stops there. Mind to the emotions, and that's it. Every night, as the body sleeps, the soul leaves the body and shifts its orientation into the astral body. However, it still stays connected to the physical body with a thin cord. And that is the difference between death and sleeping. So we are afraid of death, but we are not afraid of sleeping. When the phenomena is 99% exactly the same. My teacher used to say, why are you afraid of death? You're practicing it every night. Why are you afraid of death when you practice it every night? The reason is because you don't know. It's your ignorance that makes you afraid. Fear is a function of your ignorance. Confidence is a function of knowledge. So why would we like to be ignorant? Let's be knowledgeable. Let's learn something about it. And that's what this evening is all about, where we will learn something. And therefore, we will get rid of the fear of death and learn how to prepare for a very beautiful journey, an inevitable journey. Do you know the only truth for living being is that one day, every living being will have to go through the process of death. Whether you become beautiful or not, whether you become rich or not, whether you reach the position that you want in life or not, is all uncertain. But one thing sure, one fine day, 4 guys have to pick you on their shoulder and take you on your last journey. Every one of us has to die. This inevitable journey is what frightens us the most. Why? 2 reasons. Our ignorance, 2, our unpreparedness. Our ignorance and our unpreparedness. We need to prepare ourselves, but that we need to know. So here is your first lesson. Every night as you sleep, every night as you sleep, the soul leaves the physical body and travels into the astral body, moves to the astral body and travels in the astral world. Albeit, when it awakens, because of the thin thread, the silver thread that it is linked with, it awakens in the physical body. In death, the thread is broken. The only difference between sleep and death is that in sleep, the soul awakens into the physical body. In death, there is no link to the physical body. Therefore, it doesn't awaken in the physical body. It continues to stay in the astral body. Is that clear to everybody?
Can I ask you a question, please?
Yes, of course.
Doc, this is Sangeeta here.
Clear. Louder, please.
Sangeeta here.
Yes, Sangeeta.
Yeah, this need for my soul to leave my body and go into the astral body every night. Why?
Why?
Yes.
Why do you want to stay in your physical body when you're asleep?
No, I mean, is there a purpose? Am I
Of course,
achieving?
there is a purpose. There is a purpose. The soul does not sleep. Who sleeps?
The physical body.
The physical body sleeps. What does the soul do with the sleeping body? It can't make love to it. It can't feed it or gratify it. It can't take it for a walk. It can't take it for a holiday. So what it does, okay, he wants to sleep, let him sleep. I got better things to do in my life. So what the soul does, he goes into the astral body. The astral body is all the time awake. It is not sleeping. And it allows the soul the time and freedom to go out and meet other souls who are also journeying in the astral world. Every soul is moving out into the astral world. And there may be opportunity of meeting higher developed souls, of meeting certain spiritual masters, meeting certain wise people in their astral world, and exchanging notes about things that you need to do in your everyday life, getting answers from them, seeking remedies for certain problems. And that's why very often you notice that if there is a particular issue that you're going through in your life, sometimes like a dream or like a revelation, you wake up in the morning knowing fully well what you're supposed to do, or at least you have direction about what you're supposed to do. And when you do it, you achieve what you wanted to achieve. And that happens because the soul journeys into the astral world. And in the astral world, it's able to learn, it's able to progress, it's able to work it out and get help from other souls in the astral world who have already gone through this process. Yes, Sangeeta? Sangeeta, does that answer your question?
Yeah, sorry, I had muted myself.
Okay.
You know, I think I know too little to really understand what's going on. So I have like a million questions in my head, and I think this is good for starts.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Welcome. Anybody else has some complicated thinking process about it? Yes, Uma? Unmute yourself.
I mean, the travel of the soul in the astral body. So, is it exactly what dreams are? Because dreams are, I think, this travel is much more than dreams, right? So, what is the difference? What happens in dreams, and then what happens in this travel? Is there a difference?
Okay. Maybe someday we will do a program on dreams. Okay. Dreams is a subject by itself. It's a very beautiful subject. One part of the subject of dreams is a reflection or a recollection of your astral travel. Only one type of dream. Okay. But the recollection that you have about your astral travel depends on the development of your brain. The brain is like the CPU of your computer. Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever software you have fed in, to the extent the ability of the software, it can do the analysis. Now, if you do not have any information about astral travel, then what will you interpret? Your brain will receive stimuli of astral travel and interpret it into what it knows, no? Like how we do religious interpretation. My God is better than your God, right?
Right.
Right. No, it is not wrong. For that person, it is perfectly right because he can think only of that much. among us Hindus, no, my 1/3 is better than your 1/3. The Shaivites always say it to the Vaishnavites, and so do the Vaishnavites give it back. Both of them will say that God is made up of three, no, the Brahma, Vishnu, and the Maheshwar. Right? But no, my 1/3 is better than your 1/3. Yeah, that poor fellow doesn't know what you are talking about. But you know exactly what you're talking about, because your brain has been programmed only to understand this 1/3. So whatever other stimuli you get, you will interpret it only through that 1/3 interpretation. Yeah, that knowledge. No, the Christians believe that the only way to heaven is by following Jesus Christ. Right? There's no other way. No? I am the way, I am the light. He who walks with me shall get eternal life. That's it. So the others will all go to hell. Imagine how populated hell will be. Anyway, it is going to be populated. A lot of Christians like me are going to go to hell only. More interesting place to go to. Elvis Presley will be there, Marilyn Monroe will be there. Who wants to go to heaven? All the boring people. Yeah. So, this is our interpretation. The Muslim says, no, 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 no. Only if you follow Islam will you go to Jannat. Ultimately, when you reach there, you find Jannat, heaven, Swarga, Vaikunta, Kailasha, all are different doors to the same room. By that time, it's too late, you've done enough damage here. So the trouble is your interpretation, your ability to interpret. So what we need to do actually is to increase our knowledge, increase our interpretation, increase our information, make it into knowledge, from knowledge transfer it to wisdom, so that we will be able to interpret our dreams in a proper manner. But dreams normally cannot be interpreted because we do not know. But one portion of our dream is definitely a result of stimulus from the astral travel. Okay? Definitely that's. How we interpret it depends upon our development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
My question.
The question.
So,
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
so my question was that is your astral travel at night, is it commensurate with your vibration and your frequency? So I mean, a person who's got gross vibrations, is he likely to go into grosser astral planes, or is it possible that, I mean, does it work like that?
I got your question. To an extent, it's just like human beings. No? You go out for a walk in the evening. Where will we find you? In the company of people who think like you, right? If you love drinking, if you love smoking, you will be in a bar, right?
Right.
Yeah. If you like religious activity, you'll be found in a temple. If you like gossip, of course, you'll be found everywhere. Wherever 10 people meet, I'm in their midst. No? So that is there. But one of the beautiful things about astral world is the soul is not limited by such thinking. It is the body that is limited. It is the brain that is limited. Like I just now spoke when I was talking to Uma. It is the ability of the brain to interpret it that makes you categorized into different segments. The soul is beyond this categorization. Therefore, in the astral world, the soul seeks. Like I was talking to Sangeeta, the soul seeks. So if the soul feels that I have a limitation in this particular area, when in the astral world, it will seek other souls who are beyond these limitations, who will be able to help them go beyond this limitation. You got that?
Right.
Therefore, it can be a very educative and a very progressive activity every night.
I understood them.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Upasika.
I just wanted to know, if a person does not have a good quality of sleep, does it affect their astral journey and the evolution of their soul? Because usually when you sleep is when, that's what I understood, that you travel astrally only when you sleep. So does it if you don't get proper sleep, will it seriously affect your journey?
Yes, definitely. So if you don't sleep, or if you have very bad sleep, your quality sleep is not very good. The soul has limited time to travel, because in your waking state, the soul has to come back into the body. So it has very little time in which it can sojourn into the realm of the astral world and do all the work it is supposed to do. So therefore, sleep is an important factor. Now, it doesn't mean that just because somebody sleeps 8 hours, that he has more time and he will do more work. And just because he sleeps 6 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, that he will not be able to do. No. It depends upon the development of the soul. If the soul is very developed, what it does, it puts the body to sleep right away. Even if the body sleeps for 1 hour or 2 hours, it's able to go and do its job and come back. But of course, if that soul had 8 hours sleep, well, he will do lots more work. So sleep only determines the number, the time. But as we just talked about a little earlier, the time is not a factor in the astral world.
Yes, yes.
So
Okay.
it really doesn't matter. The soul can still do its work even if the sleep is less. But it would be helpful at a particular level of development, at a particular elementary level of development. Definitely the hours of sleep will make a difference. At a higher level, not so much.
Thank you.
In fact, I think we've all read, that when the person is very developed, he hardly sleeps.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so they hardly sleep. There's hardly anything for them to learn. But they can go and teach. So you're not only in your astral world, you're not just learning, you're also teaching, you're also helping people. And that's what the whole area of spirituality and spiritual development is all about. It is not about what I get, what I take, what I learn. It's not the I stuff. It's about what you can give also. Of course, all of us are in a learning cycle. Therefore, we have to learn. But when we learn, what do we do with what we have learned? We have to also learn to give. That's also a learning process. We have to learn to give. And when we are in the astral world, part of it we spend in receiving, part of it we spend in sharing and giving to others. Okay? Upasika, have I answered your question?
Yes, yes, uncle. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead. So what we do? Every night as we sleep, we move into the astral world. When we awake, because of the thin cord that is connected between the physical body and the soul, we are able to awake in the physical body. The difference between death and sleep is simply that in death we awake. We don't awake in the physical body because we are disconnected completely from the physical body. But in sleep, we awake in the physical body. So, is that clear that every night we practice dying? Is it clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Every night we practice dying. And we are afraid of that. Why are we afraid? Because we don't know.
I love sleeping.
You love sleeping. So do I. You find me somebody who doesn't love sleeping. Everybody loves sleeping. It's one of the most beautiful exercises. It's a different story that not everybody gets an opportunity to sleep. I mean, if I catch 5 hours sleep someday, I'll be very happy. But everybody loves sleeping. And you love sleeping because of so many reasons. And one of the reasons is this. One of the reasons is this, that the soul has a great opportunity to learn and contribute and develop during sleep. Why? Because it is in a subtle world. It is in the astral world. And this astral world is a far more refined world than the world in which we live in our waking consciousness. Far more refined world. It is made up of refined matter. It is made up of subtle matter. And therefore, everything that we see in the astral world is at a far more refined level. You know, music in the astral world has more than 7 notes. maybe 70, maybe 700 notes. The 7 notes is only the limitation of your ear. The 7 tastes are only the limitation of the taste buds on your tongue. Food can be very tasty in the astral world. Music can be very, very, very melodious. Painting, colors. And one of my students the other day who shared with me that she saw colors. She saw red, she saw green, she saw golden, she saw blue. But they were far more beautiful than the red and golden and yellow and blue that she normally sees. What was that? That's an astral vision. The colors are in hues that you cannot dream of in the gross world. So the astral world is a very beautiful world. And the only way we can enter into the astral world is when we leave the physical body. The faster we realize this, the faster we appreciate this, our dreams will be better, our night sleep will be more gratifying. We will be able to learn every night as we sleep. We will be able to seek information, knowledge. We'll be able to seek wise people and get our doubts and inhibitions cleared through them and make our lives more fruitful. Okay, so we go ahead now. So if we have understood that the astral world is a beautiful world, is a world that can take us much, much ahead in our spiritual pursuits, can take us far ahead on our journey to helping our soul develop into becoming a spiritual soul. What is a spiritual soul? A soul that can contribute to the benefit of other people. A soul that can contribute to the benefit of other people. Now somebody may ask me a question, how does the soul transit from the physical body to the astral body? It's very simple. These are the 4 vehicles available to the soul. What are the 4 vehicles? The physical vehicle, the etheric vehicle, the astral vehicle, and the mental vehicle. You have 4 cars in your house. How difficult it is for you to choose moving from one car to another car? It's your will. It's your wish. The soul decides that when the physical, like when Sangeeta asked me, what is the purpose of the soul leaving the physical body and going into the astral body? The night sleep for the physical body is a recuperation process. That the body has to go down into slow mode. The body has to go down into sleep. The body has to go down into rest. Therefore, the body can do no work. The soul is not sleeping. It's the physical body that sleeps. The soul is capable of doing so much more work. Why would it waste its time doing nothing? So the soul uses the next vehicle, the vehicle that is not limited by tiredness, that is not limited by the hours of the day. The next vehicle that it uses is the astral vehicle. And therefore the soul moves into the astral body, just by its will. Nothing else. Just like you choose one car for one purpose and another car for another purpose. You know, when you're going out on your daily work to your office or to the crowded areas of the city, you will use the small car, right? And when you're going to the club or you're going for a party where you want to show off, then what do? You use the expensive one, the big one. Just like that, right?
Uncle, may I ask something here? Is there any difference between sleep that we have in the day in terms of astral travel and night sleep? Supposing I want to sleep for 1.5 hours in the day, would there be astral travel happening even then, or does that happen only at night?
It can happen anytime.
Okay.
Anytime you sleep.
Okay.
Only thing is your sleep is much better and longer in the night hours. It is shorter and not so good during the day hours. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, anybody else has? Anybody else has a question?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you throw some light on the guided astral travel?
On the
Guided astral travel.
guided astral travel. Okay. Can I throw light on guided astral travel? What is meant by guided astral travel?
Some people claim that they help you to travel in the astral world. Like
Astral travel, as we understand, is determined by the desire of the soul. Abu, are you getting?
Yes.
Okay. So it is determined by the desire of the soul. The soul goes on to astral travel for several reasons. One, it may just go for gossip. Two, it may just go to discuss some small stuff. Three, like what is very popular now, discuss politics. It may also be a seeker's soul who is seeking for wisdom, who's seeking for knowledge, who wants to meet some great teachers, who wants to meet some great guides. Maybe a musician who wants to learn more about the subtler nuances of music. Or maybe an artist who wants to learn about the subtler nuances of his subject. Anything like that. Maybe a scientist who would like to do some scientific work in a subtle reality. Now, that is how the journey of the soul in the astral world is determined. Somebody wants to make a fool out of you. Somebody wants to make a fast buck out of you. He can definitely tell you, I will give you a guided astral tour. How can you guide my tour? Huh? Ask this question. My soul has its own purpose, has its own dharma, has its own journey. How can you do your stuff in the astral world? I'm doing my stuff in the astral world. Huh?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, correct. However, not to be impolite to certain good souls who help you in your astral journey, they are available. They make themselves available. If you seek their help, they will be willing to help you. They don't guide you on a guided tour, but they make themselves available that they can help you in your pursuits. Clear? Okay.
Yes, can I ask something, Radhi?
Yes, sir.
This astral travel, is it like, you plug in your phone and recharge it? Are you recharging yourself also for all the bodies?
No. The charge never goes down.
No, like sometimes when you go into this deep, restful sleep, you wake up feeling regenerated.
That is your body.
That's not the astral.
That's the body. The body needs recuperation. The body needs regeneration. And one of the best ways to do regeneration and recuperation is by sleep.
Okay.
And how does that happen? Because when you sleep, all your functions, even your vital functions, work at a low ebb. Therefore, there is conservation of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the body is receiving energy from the cosmos by its breathing, by the processing of the food that it has eaten, by the water it has drunk. All these things is giving them the body its energy. And since it is not expending the energy, it is conserving the energy, and therefore the body, the cells are recuperated, the body systems are recuperated. But as far as the soul is concerned,
no.
It doesn't. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now we've seen sleep. Now let's see what happens in death. We've almost covered it. Huh? I bluffed you that I was going to talk about death, and I actually spoke about life, right? But the truth of the matter is, the difference between life and death is hardly anything. Is one silver thread. What is it? It's just a thin silver thread. You do the same thing while you're alive, what you do after that. Nothing actually shifts. Nothing actually changes. When you die, the only difference is you don't awaken your physical body. That's all. You still have your astral body, you still have your mental body. And you still live in your astral body and you still live in your mental body. And now you live not in a gross world, not in a world of weight, not in a world of friction, not in a world of grossness, but in a subtle world, a finer world, more refined. The only difference between life and death is that you lose an unwanted, undesirable physical body which weighs you down in your progress. But which is essential. Which is essential. And why is it essential? Because it is the body of action. Yeah. A lot of sound coming.
Kindly mute yourself. Else then
Unmute. Okay. So you understood this? The difference between life and death is that thin silver thread that connects you to the physical body. When a person dies, what happens? It gives up the physical body. No longer comes back to the physical body. Starts to live the soul. What dies? The physical body dies, not the soul. The soul of man is immortal. The soul of man is immortal. It was never born, nor will it ever die. Fire cannot burn it, nor water wet it. All this happens only to your physical body.
One question, doctor.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. First listen, then ask a question. If you ask question before I tell you anything, I may be foxed by your question. I don't know what question you will ask me. Yeah? Okay. So, death is simply the termination of your life in the physical body. You move into the astral body. Now, you go to sleep. Death is just like sleep, a long slumber. And you wake up in the astral body. You no longer wake up in the physical body. Got that part very clearly? In sleep, you go into a long slumber and wake up in the physical body. But in death, you go into a long slumber and you wake up in the astral body. Clear? When you wake up in the astral body, there will be a little bit of a shock for those people who do not know. There will be a shock. Where is my physical body? I don't have a physical body. Now, if your life has been about gratification of your physical desires, like if you're a foodie, you love food, okay? Your soul will be hunting around only for food. If you like drink, you'll be hunting around for drink. If you like sex, you'll be hunting around for sex. If you like fanciful clothing, you'll be hunting around for fanciful clothing. But you don't have a physical body to adorn it. So that's going to be a troublesome thing. That is why one has to learn. That is why one has to understand what happens in death and what should we do to prepare ourselves for death. And why should we do it? Because death is inevitable. Death is inevitable. It may happen to you today, it may happen to you tomorrow, it may happen to you 40 years from now. That is not the point. Someday, if you are alive, the only thing you're sure of will happen is that you will die. Period. We've lost people who are in their youth. We've lost people in their old age. I mean, we can express shock, we can express sorrow, we can express so many things. I lost my mother yesterday. She was 88 years old. She would have been 89 this July. Beautiful woman, lived a good, contributory life. She was the best mother one could ever have. No? I loved her a lot. But it was time for her to go. Now, she went very peacefully. She was 88 plus, no arthritis, no diabetes, no hypertension, nothing. She had no ailment, no disease, nothing. Perfectly in capacity of all her abilities. She had to go. One sudden shock and she was out. I can sit and cry. I can sit and brood. Or I can understand that it is good for her. No longer she has to bear this burden of the physical body. She had a purpose for which she came. She fulfilled the purpose. Having fulfilled the purpose, why is she wasting her time here? She should go. She's gone. You know, all the great people died when they were young. All in their 30s, 40s at the most. Huh? You notice that? Very, very great people have died when they were very young. Why? They saw that a singular purpose. They didn't come here to waste their time. They didn't come here to learn. They came here to teach. The great souls who came here, who died young, are the souls that he came to teach. So they came, they saw so and so. They taught the information, they taught the knowledge, they taught the practices. They saw that people have understood what they did, and then that's it. Their purpose was done, their dharma is over. Some of us have a long dharma, like a mother's dharma is really, really long dharma, right? So she came as a mother, she gave birth to a child, she nurtured the child, educated the child, saw the child get married, saw the child have children, have grandchildren, she nurtured the grandchildren, she went through the experience of a grandmother. What more do you want? After that, now all the children are grown up, they're doing their own life. Her job is over. Now her physical body also does not permit her to do too much of work. There is a limitation for it. So, okay, now she has the opportunity of somebody serving her. She served the family. Now everybody in the family served her. She has the gratification that all her children, all her grandchildren served her, did nice service to her, kept her well, healthy, entertained her, took her out wherever she wanted, gave her what she wanted to eat, met up all her desires. Now what more? Finished. The journey is over. The purpose of your journey is over. Once the purpose of your journey is over, you are a burden to yourself. You are a burden to yourself, not to others. The others may love you, so that they may not grudge your being around. But to your soul, you are wasting your time. So what do you have to do? Say bye-bye and quit. Go to sleep in the physical body and wake up in the astral body. As simple as that. When you study a subject, it becomes so easy to understand. All you need to do is sleep in the physical body and wake up in the astral body. No longer the physical body bothers you. Clear? Now, if you have a question, ask. Asha Sood had a question.
My question was then, why do we feel so pathetic when some of our own goes? A person just goes, leaves the physical body, but still we feel so pathetic.
Yes.
Means,
Why do you feel pathetic? One, you feel pathetic because you don't know. You think that it is the end of everything, that this person is gone. I will no longer meet this person. I will no longer be able to entertain this person, no longer be able to interact with this person. That is why you feel.
But that is the fact. We no longer are able to interact with that person. That is the reality.
That is the reality you live in. Just now we have spoken for how much time now? 4:30. Almost 1 hour we have spoken. Then you go to sleep in the night, you wake up in your astral body and you are there with those, that person is in the astral world. Every night you can meet that person. Every night you can interact with that person. If that person is any longer interested in interacting with you. The person must have said, oh my God, this Cliff Saldana, I've had enough of him during my lifetime. In my astral world, I don't want to meet him again. Then of course, I cannot meet that person. But if that person also enjoys the interaction with you, you can meet that person every night. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. Everything stays the same.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, Priya.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
This is regarding the first part when you're talking about life. That is it possible that you said that the soul directs and the body performs the action? Is it possible ever that the soul and the body are in discord? Like soul wants something else and the body wants something else.
Yes, it is possible. Most of the time it is so. Most of the time it is so. Because you inherit the body by the genetic transmission from your parents.
Mm-hmm.
It has its own developmental stage. The soul has its own developmental stage over the janmas that it has taken. Though the soul chooses the body, at the same time the body has its own developmental stage. So there can be times where there is a conflict of interest between the soul and the body. Well, what is the question?
And the second part of the question is that, we live with people who live with souls, our bodies live with souls. And it is possible that two souls are actually close to each other or they like each other. But when they are, in the bodies, they don't have synchrony or they have discord with each other. Is there a possibility that, when outside the body, they are actually the souls like each other, but when in the body, they have problems with each other as humans?
Okay, so this is a good question, because if as physical bodies they have discord, but the souls are committed towards each other, this is a lesson the soul has to learn, how to resolve the discord that they have in physical life. And when they leave the body at night and they are in their astral bodies, and in the astral body they have no problem with each other, they will find a resolution to their problem if they know that in the astral world this is possible.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
So you said the astral body does not have the limitation of time, distance and all that. So when we sleep at night, we go into the astral world. Then how does the astral body know that morning it has to come back to the physical body?
It is not morning. It is not just in the morning. In the night you want to go to the loo, you get up, right?
Yes. That's
you can't go to the loo without the soul.
No, maybe my question was wrong. How does the astral body knows that it has to come back each time?
Because of the link. Because of the silver thread that is linked. So it is linked, it is in communication with the physical body. The moment the physical body decides that, oh, I need to get up, the soul has to come back to you.
Thank you.
Why, that is why sometimes you feel this feeling of suddenly, like the whole thing whirling.
Yeah,
you
get up like a jerk.
You get up like a jerk. That is when the body, when the soul had to come in post haste.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Master.
Welcome. Yes, Uma. Unmute yourself.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
One is because once the soul has reached the astral body, and meaning to say it has moved on out of the physical body, and you say the astral body, in the astral body it feels the same emotions as we do when we have a physical body, right? So if we were we had to connect, like how we do connect to the higher souls through meditation and all that. So if we had to do that, so is it that we have to increase our vibrations? That's so. Is it possible if we do that we are able to connect? That is that a possibility?
Connect with whom?
With the body which has moved on. How does it work like that?
I didn't understand your question.
If the departed soul.
I think what can I say? I think
yes.
No, let us speak. Let us speak.
Okay.
Let her explain. How do you know what she wants to ask?
I thought I understood.
Okay.
Every one of us think we understand.
So if
your question.
if the departed soul feels the same emotions as it does when it is when it is with the body, just that the body is not there, right?
Correct.
So if we were to understand, we were to try to understand what that soul is feeling, is it possible that we increase our vibrations and
when we are alive? Okay, when we are in the physical body, can we prepare for the anomalies in the astral world?
Yes.
Okay, we will come to that. That's the next part. How to prepare for that?
Okay. Okay. I had another question, which is when you say that when people who die, the great people who die soon, they have a purpose, they finish their purpose, and then so what happens to those who die suddenly? What is the purpose?
Okay. So all this is about natural death. Okay. All this is about natural death. There are unnatural deaths. For example, like accidents. Accident can happen because of negligent behavior. Just now we spoke about the purpose of the body and the purpose of the soul, right? There can be a cross purpose. The evolution of the body and the evolution of the soul can be a cross purpose. If the evolution of the body is not in sync with the evolution of the soul, or the evolution of the body is still reckless, then what can happen? A reckless action of the body can cause an accident, can cause murder, can cause suicide, or it may not even be the recklessness of the soul. It may just be a situation. For example, a plane crash. How come you are responsible for it? You are in no way responsible for it. You boarded a flight to go from one place to one destination to another destination. There was a crash, and you died in that. Now here, this theory does not apply, where the soul decides to leave the body. No, here the soul is compelled to leave the body. So this is also a situation where the soul is compelled to leave the body.
So may I ask a related question? So in our culture, we say that, when somebody dies, that their time had come. Their time had come, so they had to go. So is it the choice of the soul, or it's a predestined thing? There is that, they came to earth with the body for a purpose, whatever that may be. That may not be a great purpose, but everyone has some purpose. And, that time was over and they went back.
Quite possible. In certain cases, yes, but not as a general.
Okay, thank you.
You came with a particular purpose. You finish the purpose. You can declare another purpose that you're with and continue your life. And declare yet another purpose and continue your life.
Doctor, one question. Doctor, one question. Can you throw some light on the evolution of the physical body?
Not in this talk.
Thanks.
Not in
okay, thanks.
Uncle, this is Shweta here. I have a question. So when you were speaking about unnatural deaths, and especially like deaths like say in a plane crash or in an earthquake or something like that, isn't it an outcome of mass karma?
Is it outcome of
Mass karma.
karma? Well, it may be. Maybe, could be, but we are not discussing that at the moment.
So what about if someone dies by someone?
Meaning?
I would like to say if someone is murdered, so
Ah.
what is the reason for that?
What is the reason for that?
Yeah, yeah.
There can be several reasons. Maybe this person irritated that person so much that he could not tolerate to see him living. Or that person was a nasty-minded person who decided to kill somebody so that no evidence is left about his nastiness. It can also be murder out of a wrong identity. Maybe he was a contract murderer. Can be so many reasons.
And in some cases it happens that some murders are solved, and in some cases the murder case prolongs and prolongs. Why does that happen? Is it because of their deeds?
Inefficiency of the judiciary and the executive.
Cliff, Radhi here.
Yes.
When a soul dies suddenly, like you say, a plane crash,
Yes.
but it's not time for the soul to go.
Yes.
Does the soul leave to the astral plane, or does it linger in the physical world, the world as we know it?
The moment it does not have a body anymore, it has to go to an astral plane. It needs a body.
Okay.
It does not have a physical body, so it takes on the astral body.
And sir, I have a question. Like if a departed soul of the family leaves, and you get messages when you go to sleep in night, or when you're doing prayers around 4 o'clock in the morning, does that happen?
You get messages from that soul.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because
There are two aspects of it.
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
I recently lost my uncle,
Okay.
and when I was doing my morning prayers, he gave me his message, which he told you just shared it to the family. And what I have experienced, like when I was young, I have had I could know about my father's death, and it happened exactly the same. I was quite young at that time. And also when my sister was ill, at that time she was suffering, and I had an intuition, and I just asked her after a few days about that. Are you okay health wise? Now this has happened. I have experienced this. So why is it so?
Okay. Okay. So you say that you are able to get some messages, you are able to get some information.
Yeah.
No.
Master, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Sorry, got accidentally muted.
Now it's unmuted? Yeah. Okay. So this is fine. This
yes,
can happen.
we can hear you, Master.
Yeah. This can happen because your soul is in touch with the soul of the other person. This can be one of the possibilities. In your case, maybe this is the possibility. But it can also be the glamour of being a person who knows something that most people do not know. And some half information, and people, because of glamour, have hallucinations about these things. So it can also be a wrong information. It can also be erroneous, but it can also be true. Both the possibilities exist. It depends on the development of the soul. If the soul is developed, the soul is able to access this information. If the soul is not developed, he makes up something like this so that he gets a glamour in the world, so that everybody thinks very great about them. And there is no way of ascertaining. No? How can you ascertain whether it is the truth or not the truth? My teacher used to say, if you want to become rich, put one board outside your office. I will tell you when, where, and how you will die. You will die. People will spend millions of rupees to come in. You tell them anything you want. If they don't, if they die, they're not coming. If they don't die, they'll be happy that they did not die, so they won't come back to ask you. If they die, it's as simple as that. No? So there are many ways to bluff. The brain is very smart. It works out, conjures many ways to bluff us. We have to be rational. We have to use the mind. We have to use the mental body to decipher what is the truth, to what extent it is the truth, and then work by that. You can validate it. In your case, if it is validated by the experiences that have happened, then it is there. It's valid. If it's not validated, one must keep quiet. One must understand this is glamour. This clear?
May I ask a question?
Any other question? Yes, Upasika.
Uncle, you had mentioned that once the silver cord is cut,
yes,
you move to the astral, your soul moves to the astral plane. And astral and mental bodies are what are active and not your physical. So, so is it a period of rest?
I think your connection is very poor.
How does what is the purpose of this?
I'm not able to understand.
In this intermediary, many times they say that you enjoy the benefits of the Devacha. Is it that? Can you hear me now? Hello, better now?
Now it's clear. Yeah.
Okay.
What is the question? When it moves into the?
When the body, when the soul moves into the astral body after death, and what is the purpose? When you're in your physical body, you have a daily set of activities. Is it a period of rest, or how do you go about your journey in the astral plane? And the second question is, they say that you enjoy the benefits of the good deeds you do in your physical body in the period between two reincarnations. So how does that function?
Okay. So we will see if we have time, then we'll have to go into this subject because this is a long subject.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
So let us first do this. It's a good, very good question. What does the soul do?
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody else has a question on what we have talked already?
Uncle, I'm not sure if I can frame this right, what I'm trying to say. But in the current COVID deaths that we are seeing all around,
yes,
when we put it in the perspective of what we are talking about,
yes.
So would we say the souls are being compelled to leave, or they are done and they are choosing to leave?
Oh, disease is caused by your negligence. You have not had a strong immune system. You have not taken the necessary precautions. You become a victim of the disease. You have not taken remedial measures in time. Therefore, your physical body suffers from the disease and the ill effects of the disease and the sicknesses. If the body is not strong enough, it succumbs to the problem and therefore it dies. There's no sudden death. People died of disease even before. I think we are making a big hype about this COVID thing. I mean, it's just another infection. It's just another disease. People die of tuberculosis, people die of cancer, people die of so many things. They've been dying for years. They're dying now. You need some reason to die.
But aren't many people leaving together at the same time suddenly?
I don't think so. There is a pandemic, and in the pandemic, this is bound to happen. Like in a war, when people die in a war. That's it. What do you do about it? There can be any reason why you're leaving. The soul does not decide to leave the body. every time. The soul leaves the body because the body, it's compelled to leave the body in many cases. In sometimes it can leave on its own. It can also be compelled to leave the body. No? You did not take care of your body, you fell sick. Why did you fall sick? Why did you allow yourself to be exposed? You did not wear your mask. In the case of COVID, I'm saying. You did not wear your mask, you did not maintain social distancing, you did not maintain proper hygiene. You went and attended all the political rallies. Huh? You went to the Kumbh Mela. And then you expect that nothing should happen. It won't happen. What's so big about it? So sometimes there is a pandemic, there is an epidemic, there is a pandemic. It can happen. Your body is not strong enough. So it succumbs. And the soul is then compelled to leave the body. Clear? So it's not always that the soul leaves it by choice. Sometimes it is forced to. Yes. Okay. So let's go to the next stage. Now we understood the dying process, right? Any question on up to the dying process? What does the soul do after it leaves the body? What does the soul do when it actually leaves the body? When the soul leaves the body, it enters into the astral body. It enters into the astral world, and there is no change in a daily routine that happens in your life, physical life, and into your astral life. You still continue doing the same work. You still continue pursuing your same desires. You still continue pursuing your same goals. For example, if you're a scientist, you were doing some research while you were alive. Now you're dead. You don't have to have a physical body, so you don't come back, but you have an astral body. In the astral world, there are astral laboratories. There are astral facilities for your scientific research. And you continue doing your research in the astral world. The advantage of doing that is that you do it with a more refined energy. You do it in a more refined realm. And therefore, the work that you do has far better results, far quicker results, and far-reaching effects on your research. It is so with every activity that you do. If you are a student of law, you will study law in a much more practical manner, in a much more pragmatic manner. If you are a student of fine arts, you will still study it in fine arts. If you're a student of music, you will continue with music. If you're a student of whatever, if you're just a housewife, you will still learn how house management can be done in a proper manner. You have opportunities, the same opportunities there. You may not have your own house because your family is not there. You may not have your same scientific team to work with because some of them are left back on earth. But you will find that there are groups there which you will join and continue doing.
So I have a
work.
question.
This also answers Upasika's question that what does the soul do once it leaves the physical world? When it leaves the physical world, it is not idling. It is still continuing to do its work it is doing. It is still continuing doing whatever work it was doing or whatever new work it wants to learn and do. Now it has the opportunity to even seek newer avenues to study. Clear?
Thank you.
Yes.
Sir, but I have a question here.
No, she had a question. What is the name?
Me, sir, Sushila.
Yes, Sushila.
Sir, you said if you are a housewife, you continue to be a housewife in astral world. Well, I am a housewife, but I want to be something else, right? So what's the use of dying and being again a housewife? What if I wanted to be a NASA scientist or something big?
So you will start your studies in that direction in the astral world. You can
Okay.
start it now. What stops you from starting it now?
I don't have
Why
the
should you
brains.
wait to die?
I don't have the brains, no.
You don't have the brains.
Yeah,
Then
I'm
if
bad in
you
math.
don't have the brains now, you won't have the brains when you die either.
So that's exactly my question. So
So
how
you
do
have to
you
develop. So you have to develop your brains. So you have to develop your interest in science. You have to develop your scientific mentality. So
Sir,
start now.
I
Start
do
now.
try. Even now at this age, I'm trying to learn multiplication, division. I was really bad in math. But
Yeah.
then you face a certain block. So how does it unblock?
Start now.
Start now.
Start now.
Okay, what if I wanted to be a horse rider then?
Start now.
Start now.
Start now. You have to
Why
start
not
now.
in why not in the astral world?
Then when you go into the astral world, you say, why not in the next lifetime? This is the procrastination. So if you're procrastinating now, you will procrastinate then also. It's the same. Except you don't have a physical body, that's all. Everything is the same. Your astral body is the same. You got that?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, do now. Start now. Then you will progress.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Somebody else had something to say?
Yeah, I had a question.
Yes, Kannan.
Like when we go into this astral world, you said that we can continue the work which we were doing earlier in a still professional way. Maybe that can be done till you take till you enter into another body. Is it right?
Maybe you will change your direction also.
But one more question is, how does it benefit to the society when whatever we are doing in the astral world does not contribute anything to the society, right?
Does not contribute anything to society.
Yeah.
It is preparing your soul. So when you reincarnate again, you come with far more refined intellect on that particular subject.
Oh.
Yes.
I have something.
Wait. Let him understand first, Kannan. Is it clear for you?
I understood. Okay.
Yes.
Can we say, sir,
yes, the next
that
one.
this contributes to the others who are doing? Like we sometimes get intuition, which helps us find out things. Maybe this research done by the departed souls is helping us.
Please, everybody, can everybody mute
Intuition
themselves? There's a lot of disturbance. Like can everybody mute themselves? Thank you.
Yes, Manon Mani. What is it?
I was just thinking that maybe this research work being done by the others, the departed souls on a different plane, could there is something called the universal mind, and when we meditate, we have access, like our intuition is also becomes better. Maybe we are reaching to that, the data that they have got. So maybe that's how people find out new things, discoveries, inventions. Maybe it helps. Maybe it helps.
Maybe. It's quite possible. Yeah.
Because you were asking about how it helps the others.
No, it's quite possible. It's quite possible that you may access some information that they are doing, but how much it will help will depend upon how much you are able to use it in your everyday life. What they are doing, what you will do when you are in your astral body will benefit your soul.
Okay.
And how you can share it with the others is when these scientists in this world are in their astral travel, they will be able to meet you and get the clarifications.
Yes.
Yeah, that is how they access it, not any other way.
Okay.
All this talk about intuition and things like that may not be very true.
Yeah.
But whenever you are in your astral world, you are possible. It is possible for you to meet the other people in the astral world and then get the information from them. So that your mental body, that you can translate that onto your brain, record it, recall it, and work with it. Otherwise, it will only be fanciful information.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. So as the last part of our talk, we are going to say, how do we prepare ourselves? How do we prepare ourselves for death? So first of all, understand that this transition from life to death, from the physical world to the astral world, that is what the transition is. everything stays the same. Your relationship stays the same. The area of operation stays the same. Nobody is anywhere. If somebody has left the physical world, they are here in this dimension itself. Only they are in the astral world, but in the same place. So whenever you go to sleep, you will be in the astral world also. You can meet them, you can interact with them. So it's absolutely nothing different. The only thing is the way you die, the condition of your astral body when you die determines where you wake up in the astral world. Where you wake up in the astral world means if you are a person who is yet very selfish, who is very materialistic in your life, all you're looking for is gratification of your physical. You may find food, you may find drink, you may find all the materials that are needed for your gratification, but you don't have a body to enjoy it. So there is food in front of you and you cannot eat it. There is drink in front of you, you cannot drink it. There are clothes in front of you, you cannot wear it. There are pleasures in front of you, gratification of pleasures possible in front of you, but you don't have a body to gratify. What type of a life would it be? Would it be pleasurable? No way. That is what we call hell. That is what is hell. You're really going to hell. It is your own selfish motives. It is your own grosser desires that make your life hereafter a hell. Till you realize that I don't have a physical body anymore. And these selfish motives are not going to take me any further. They are only going to bring more misery to me. And remember, this is the astral world, the world of feeling, the world of sensation, the world of desires. So therefore, everything is extremely acute. It's very subtle, so it's very acute. Pleasure is acute, pain is acute. So when you go through this pleasure of wanting food, having food but not able to eat, wanting drink, having drink, not able to drink, wanting gratification, having means of gratification but cannot gratify because you don't have a physical body. Can you imagine the type of pain that you will be going through? That is what is referred to as hell. Now, if you are in that state when you die, you will wake up at that level. When you wake up at that level, you will be in a miserable condition. That will be a very, very unhappy condition. So that is not a condition we want to wake up in. If we don't want to wake up in that condition, we need to learn how not to be just selfish. We need to gratify. We have a body, we need to gratify it. But our whole mind and whole life and everything should not be so materially oriented. If we don't want to awaken that state. If you don't mind awakening that state, have fun. Enjoy the misery here, enjoy the misery there. The misery there will be far more acute than the misery here. But if you are one who is selfless, who works for the benefit of other people, who works at higher things in life, who looks for more refined stuff in life, who looks at development of certain faculties that will help humanity, that will, when you help humanity, you help yourself also. It is not that you don't help yourself. Every time you do something for others, you're doing something for yourself also. So it is not that the person who is spiritually oriented or the person who is refined in his thinking does not enjoy life. They enjoy life far more than you enjoy life. But they don't need food, they don't need drink, they don't need clothing, they don't need bangla, they don't need cars for gratifying enjoyment. They find that enjoyment in serving people. They find that enjoyment in meeting other people's needs. They find that enjoyment in doing good to others, in guiding people. You got that? If you will live your life like that, you will wake up at a level where you will work in that level. And there you find a lot of people. Who are the people you're going to help? All these people who have woken up in their selfish motives. You will still have a great source of people to help. Many people live an extremely materialistic life, extremely selfish motives in their life, and they wake up at this level where they are in misery. Those people who work at higher levels in life wake up at a higher level and have the opportunity, even there, of helping the people who are in a miserable condition, right? So they can contribute now. The gratification that they will derive will be far, far more intense than the gratification you derive here. The gratification you derive there is far, far more intense. Clear? You will continue with your daily work. You will have the same type of routine. Only thing is, you don't feel hungry, you don't feel tired, you don't feel sleepy. So imagine you have got time and time on your hand. No fatigue. There is no fatigue. There is no time limit. You can work as much as you want. You can do as much as you want. Your range of operation is very wide. Instead of doing 2 things in a day, you may do 20 things in a day. The amount of work that we do between one Janma and another Janma is tremendously more than what we can do while we are in our physical body. The more we work in this intermittent phase, the better is the next life opportunities that we will be able to. Yeah, we will be able to choose far more better opportunities in our next life to work in if we work extensively during this intermittent.
One question.
Yes.
You said this is our soul which wakes up in the astral world.
Yes.
After death. So that means our soul feels everything. In the astral world, after death, our soul feels everything, all this pain and pleasure and everything
Yes.
that our soul feels. Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what is the lesson we learn from here? The lesson we learn here is that when in physical life, when we are in our physical body, we must learn to control our astral body. We must learn to use our astral body to be subjective to the mental body so that we can analyze, we can reason, and with this reason, this analysis, we can bring this astral body to bear upon to serve humanity more than serving yourself, to be of use to humanity than to just be selfish in their motives, to learn to live a life where you contribute to the benefit of the large segment of humanity, and therefore be able to become a contributor rather than somebody who just takes. Why? When you do that, your life hereafter will be far more refined, will be far more contributory, and you will be able to expand your contribution. You will be able to expand your experience to such a great extent that the next life that you are going to take will have a greater range of activity that you will work. Not only will it help you in your physical life here, but it will help you in your astral life hereafter, and it will help you in the incarnation that you will take thereafter. Thank you very much. I hope we got some type of a semblance of understanding on the process of life and death.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Master
Thank
Ji.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Namaste, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, uncle.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Very enlightening talk, I must say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just can I ask one question?
Yes.
I just want to know the soul has no limitations, right? Soul is always very luminous, omnipotent, and there is no limitations to the soul. So does it feel or have feelings?
What's the question? I didn't understand the question. The soul has no limitations. The answer is yes. What is it? Your voice is cut. Geeta Kumar.
Sir, could you please tell the vehicle of the astral world? The 4 vehicles which you said during the talk.
What is that?
Sir, could you please tell the 4 vehicles of the astral world? You had mentioned there's a mental vehicle.
There are 4 vehicles of the soul, not of the astral world. Soul has 4 vehicles: the physical vehicle, the etheric vehicle, the astral vehicle, and the mental vehicle.
Thank you very much, Master.
Thank you.
I hope,
Thank you, sir.
this talk will help everybody in their own preparation, both in life and for the afterlife stages. And it's been a pleasure to having, and it's also a nice platform for this community to connect together. So especially in a time like this. So thank you so much for being part of this, and thanks to all of you for having, being part of this. It's been very nice, and yeah, I hope it was beneficial to all of you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lakshmi.
Nice things.
Thank you.
Great thank to Lakshmi, because Lakshmi made this possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, so the recorded version will be uploaded on YouTube. Please give us a week's time, and it shall be up on the Chitra Museum's YouTube channel, and I will share it with the Master as well. The link.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love to have more sessions.
Nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.